So today we're going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now on episode 60 of this series, and in the last episode we saw a ton of events happening, such as a ton of wars in South America and Mesopotamia for the first time in a long time. We saw some alliances expand, a pretty prominent civil war that will change up Western Europe, and a lot more. So if you haven't seen that episode yet, make sure to go watch it before watching this one. Otherwise, if you do enjoy today's episode, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new, as we're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers. And let's go ahead and jump straight into this video. So we are going to be starting over here in North America today, and that's because there is a little bit of an economical situation happening in this country here. They are in the NATO organization, which has the strongest currency in the world, but that doesn't mean there can't necessarily be individual suffering. This country is the weakest economical country in all of North America. It makes pretty good money off of its resource exports, but it suffers as it has a very low population, one of the least populated countries in the world, other than these guys over here. So they need to make some quick money, and luckily there's a country just south of them that is willing to work with them, and that is of course America. So what this country is going to do is that they're going to sell off some of their provinces. More specifically, they'll be selling these two. So the Americans will be getting these two provinces here, but not just those two. They'll also be picking up these two provinces. Now this is two separate deals that are done. Basically the country that is giving up the provinces thought like, hey, this was nice profit, but we could really use a few extra, probably millions of dollars, so we'll sell these as well. Now the issue is that this move was kind of unpopular for two reasons. One, no one likes to give up land. There's a lot of resources there, so why would you give that up? And two, because they just sold one of their most populated cities right here, meaning that these guys have even less population now, and that could be an issue in the future should they experience any more economical difficulties. But for now, America gets 4 more provinces, all full of good resources, and they also get a few more people in their country. And this is our new map between America and this Canadian country. But now we're jumping down over to the gold. When did this happen? I don't know. Why is this here? It's on the major city layer, which that doesn't even explain it. The green team low-key might have just lost a major city and we'll never know. But we're going down to Africa with the gold team because they are, they're expanding again. These guys don't know when to quit, but now they're going after this red country here, and unfortunately for them, they never joined the South Africa's military alliance. But this could be a wake-up call, but unfortunately it's too late. The gold team's troops are already entering into their country, and the invasion begins, and it doesn't go good for them at all. They don't even lose anything big, and they eventually just surrender, which is actually probably a plus. If you just surrender early, you probably don't lose your entire country. So let's take a look at what their treaty looks like. It looks something like this. So the gold team will take all of this, and I do want to say there was a new province created. It's this one right here. This whole thing right here, including all of this, that used to be one province, but that would have looked really stupid, so I just made a new province. The gold team doesn't get any new major cities from this, but there could be resources here, and there could also be area of opportunity to in fact the entire province they just annexed is unfortunately of different ethnicity, so we'll see what happens. I think we can already guess what will happen, but we're not worried about that right now. They just annexed this and are now looking like this. They are definitely becoming a very big and strong country, maybe getting towards that top 10 position. Remember, they did join the West Africans Economical Alliance to improve their economy, and so far it has done exactly that. So they could be nearing that top 10 position, maybe overtaking the green country, who's kind of taking too big of a bite. But yeah, that's that. But obviously this is going to have repercussions for the gold team. They figured this would happen, but the red team is going to join up on South Africa's new alliance in order to stop them from getting invaded in the future, hopefully. We also see yet another country join this thing, and it is the lavender-ish kind of country. Basically, Africa is waking up to the fact that the fascists aren't going to stop invading South, and luckily now there is a solidified block separating them from Southern Africa, meaning that these countries down here are safe and they don't have to worry about getting invaded for now. It also means that the gold team can't really expand anymore. They would have to go into Mesopotamia or maybe even invade one of their closer allies. They're not actually really allies, but they do just share the same currency. But now we're going to zoom out because I think it's time that we address the ideologies of the world. I think it's fair to say that we need to create a new layer so we can kind of see the ideologies across the globe a little bit better. Right now, it's not very clear, and this is something that I wish I would have done very early on in the series. We could have seen the different monarchies, the democracies, the aristocracies, oligarchies, but I just never did it. But now we're implementing it 60 episodes in, so better late than never, I guess, but that is my bad on that one. But let's see how this new ideology map looks. And I think this is how we're going to do it. This took me maybe 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes to do. I think I messed up in a few places, but I think this is what we're rolling with for the ideology map. So this is a lot to look at, obviously, and where there's a lot of countries like in Mesopotamia, it's really hard to look at, but I'm going to break it down for you, and I have some notes that I want to share. So doing this, I was able to figure out how many countries there were in the world. As of right now, episode 60, there are about 131 countries in the world. Now, I could have miscounted. I might have missed a country or so I don't want to like say that number is final, but just as a general idea, there's around 131-ish countries in the world. No, I did not forget all of the island nations over here. I got all of them. So let's break this down a little bit more. The main ideology in the world, but it has been shrinking, is democracy. There's 81 countries that are true democracies. And I say that, but true democracy doesn't really exist. It's like representative democracy, which is what most of the world uses now anyway. So there's 81 of those. Those are like the darker blue countries you can see. China is one of them. India is another one of them. And Greece is one of the staple ones. And you can see in North America, it is very popular. There are only democratic countries in North America, no other ideology as of now. Now you might notice this lighter blue color, and that is a flawed democracy. There are 22 flawed democracies in this world. What is a flawed democracy? It's a country that calls itself a democratic country, but might be lacking in some of those democratic principles. So you can't really call it a full democracy like all these other countries. Maybe there's like a history of some weird sketchy stuff happening. Maybe there's a lot of corruption. But at the end of the day, these flawed democracies are the countries that are a lot more likely to shift in ideology compared to the pure democracies, which it would take a lot for them to shift. But we have seen it happen before, like in Brazil and in Africa too. It has happened a lot in Africa. But now we can talk about all the other colors, which are the more interesting ones. The next most popular ideology is fascism. There are 13 fascist countries in the world as of now. There's only one fascist country in the Americas, and that is Brazil. Fascism is represented by the brown, by the way. You can see in North Africa, it is very prevalent. There are about 5-6 countries right here that are all fascist. This one right here just recently turned to fascism, and that's most likely due to both the Gold Team and the West African team's influence. There are also 2 right here. We discussed this in the last episode. And then in Australia, of course, there is the 1, and then the Green Team is fascist, and then the Brown Team is fascist, along with Northern France. And now for the next most popular ideology. It isn't communism, but it is a form of dictatorship. Now, these countries don't necessarily have a direct ideological identification. Instead, we just define them by their ruler, and it is usually going to be a ruler that is a dictator and who has been in power much longer than he should have been. There are only a few of these countries in the world that are true dictatorships. There's 2 in South America, there's 2 right here in Africa, and then there's 2 over here in Central Asia. They all are kind of next to each other, interestingly enough. But if you look at history, you would kind of understand like how this happened. And even so, like you can see there's 2 dictatorships right here. That's probably due to their surrounding powers. Now, also the sizes of the circle don't mean anything. It's just like the scale with the country. So just because like China has a huge blue circle, it doesn't mean they're the most democratic country in the world. That's just the size of it with the country. Makes it easier to see as well. But now our next most popular ideology is communism. There are 5 communist countries in the world, and they're pretty much all in Europe. There is the Southern French country, Italy, the Farmers Union, and Poland. And then jumping over here, there is this former Korean country. They are also full-on communist. The next most popular ideology in the world is one that is very unique to a region, and that is up here. We have Scandinavian socialism. Like I said, Norway was experimenting with a form of left-wing ideology. They didn't want to go full-on communist because obviously that limits your people, and Norway is a pretty democratic country, so they have this Scandinavian socialism, which is basically just a code word for democratic socialism. It's kind of what they're doing in real life, but a little bit more extreme. More big government, basically. But Finland has taken on Norway's ideology, and so far it's doing them pretty well. Norway and Finland are close countries. They don't share the same alliance, but remember, the Finns helped the Norwegians in World War III, so they have been building a pretty close bond with each other. And now there are 2 other ideologies we need to talk about. There is monarchism, and there's only one country on this map that is a monarchy, and it is purple. And then finally, we have another unique ideology to the red country. It is being called Tibetism. And remember, this country right here is a very unique one. They have their very own religion, for example, the pink religion. They're tolerant of other religions, so of course there are some other religions that do bleed into their territory, but for the most part, they have their own religion. And these guys were very isolationist for a long time until recently. But yeah, that is our new ideology map. If you want to take a better look at it, then we can do something like this. And then we can do something like that, and then this. And yeah, that's something to look at, but it's easier to look at, I guess. It's crazy how you can like kind of see the outline of the world to an extent. Like you can see Turkey and Mesopotamia right here, and then like Ireland and Scotland. And then you can like see the tip of India. North America is somewhat recognizable. Not really though. Anyway, that is our new, it's all gone. Series over. Sorry guys. But like I was saying, that is our new ideology map. Now we can get back to the more interesting stuff, which is going to be happening down in Australia. We're actually going to be adding to an ideology because this blue country right here just had peaceful elections, believe it or not. In these radical times, the blue team was able to have peaceful elections. Now, just like every other country in the world, this has been a growing theme in each and every episode, but the people here are radicalized. We have a communist up for election and we have a Democrat up for election. So there is no fascist leader up for grabs. They simply reject it because of what happened right here. It's not banned, it's just not popular. And who wins? Well, it's the communist that wins. And this blue country goes full on communist, which means that there are now 21 flawed democracies and 6 communist countries. So with their move to communism and hence a dictatorship, now I know that communism doesn't exactly equal dictatorship, and I guess fascism, you can say that too, but in history, all fascist countries were usually dictatorships, but in this series, if you're a communist or a fascist, you automatically are going to have a dictatorship. That's just how this series is going to work. It gets too complicated if I try to change that up. But this is a dictator that was voted for by the people. That's fun. And his ambitions are to overtop the fascist, and the fascist ambitions are now to overtop the communist. You see how this works? Now there is one glaring issue on the Australian continent, and that is the green right here. And the green team is like, oh no. Now these guys are pure Democrats. They don't have to worry about like, you know, their elections getting influenced at all, but they could be because of this. And they do realize that the blue team is probably going to come for it just so that the red team can't get it. And it becomes a race between which country can get this land first. Now the green team's like, hold on. We can do this peacefully so we don't have to fight and shed blood. Oh, all right. The blue team starts to invade the green country, and the green team's army isn't even here. They don't care enough to protect it. Oh, but here comes the red team too. That was unsurprising, but eventually this land is all taken. And then something interesting happens. They start fighting each other within this territory. There is no official declaration of war between these two countries, and the governments both recognize that they are not at war. They specifically go on their national television and say, we are not fighting them. We acknowledge to each other that we're not fighting each other. There's just a few skirmishes, you know, happening in this territory that we just got over here. And, you know, there's a couple thousands of troops dying, but we're not at war or anything, right? Yeah, no. So they'll continue fighting back and forth for a very long time. They're pretty evenly matched, but if I had to guess, the red team would be a little bit better. But at the end of the day, the blue team's able to push back, and they're like, hey, let's stop fighting. I'll give you a little bit of land. Let's just quit it. And the green team's like, hey, you're the one that invaded me. Why are you doing a peace treaty without me? Basically, the dictators are like, hey, ha ha ha. So let's take a look at this peace treaty. And in this peace treaty here, it's pretty simple. Red team gets that province, blue team gets everything else. There was a little bit of dispute over this island though, but the blue team ultimately puts its military on it, basically saying, haha. Ha ha ha. And this is our new map of Australia, split right down the middle between a communist and a fascist country. I'm sure this will be peaceful in the future. And it looks like Oceania might finally be heating up. Some events have been happening here recently, and yeah, it's finally happening. Events in these weird continents that are never talked about. I am not noticing that the shift of the series has kind of been on Africa, and it's now spilling over into Brazil and into Australia. So that's good because these areas aren't talked about a lot in this series. So I feel like this is a good thing. But we won't forget about Europe because Europe, there's always something happening here. All of a sudden, the Dark Scion team is going through something. And if we take a look at like the alliance map and stuff, you'll remember that these guys were aligned with the West Africans. And that's cool and all, so like surely there wouldn't be, okay. This was a long time coming, but the Dark Scion team finally switches over to fascism. They've always been like a little sketchy country that's been kind of unethical in a lot of ways, but now they've finally done it. They switched to fascism and aligned themselves with the West Africans, which is kind of a huge blow to the communists who are hoping to expand their influence into Iberia, hoping to just cut off any connection between the brown and the West Africans. That would be a pretty big issue if an ideological war were to ever break out. But hey, we don't gotta worry about that. Anyway, for our last event in today's video, we're hopping over to the Russian HRE. These guys, I guess it's worth mentioning, but these guys are all flawed democracies. So it isn't too surprising that there's been some backstabbing here and there, but they will be getting a new member, and that new member is going to be the gray country down here. And what's very interesting about this is that this is not Russian land. this is Old Empyrean land. It is a very stark contrast to what has been like the norm down here, which is very pro Old Imperium. These guys all like the idea of the old empire. Like I said in the last episode, is super prosperous, and a lot of these countries wouldn't be opposed to having it back. But this is weird because this was Old Imperium, and now they're aligning themselves with Russian ideology, or more so the Russian HRE, the Holy Russian Empire, which isn't holy, which is now not Russian either because of these guys, and it is also not an empire. So I guess the joke with the HRA in real life also applies to this one. And I will never probably talk about like who the ruler of the alliance is, because remember I talked about those elections. I'll only mention like the true ruler of the alliance when it's necessary. I don't know if it even ever will be, but for now, you guys just make it up. Every episode there can be a different ruler of this alliance. I'll let you guys theorize with that and do your own thing. Like I said, I like to give you guys control of this series to an extent. So this is all dandy and all, but an ultimatum just got sent to one of these members, and that's not fun. The green team just sent an ultimatum over to the yellow team. Now the green team is on a chill pill right now. They understand how dangerous what they're doing is, and they really want to stop sending their military out, because that can really, backstab them. And one of the countries that they can see forming a coalition against them is the HRE itself, which all of these guys combined together is like a mini Russia. So that would be kind of hurtful. These aren't really strong countries. Their economies are destroyed by all the nuclear devastation, but all together, they could probably do a little bit of damage. For example, they'd be able to topple Poland. They'd be able to probably topple the pink team, and they'd probably be able to topple this Caucasian country altogether. So like with their force combined, which only ever happens if one of them is attacked, they are kind of strong. They're like a mid-ish power, but on their own, they're not anything. But going back to the altogether thing, they aren't anything compared to the green team, and they know that. So here's the deal. We sent these guys an ultimatum, and what this ultimatum says is that you're going to cede over a little bit of your land. I don't want to take your whole country. I just want to take a little bit of your coastal area. And in exchange, we're going to sign a non-aggression pact saying you won't attack me and I won't attack you for the foreseeable future. How many years? I don't know, until it's relevant. And the HRE is going to consider this as a group together because they do like to do their foreign policy as a group. And ultimately, they're going to make a decision to go ahead and greenlight this. Now, there's going to be a few countries that are opposed to this and a few countries that are in favor of this, but it comes down to majority rule. So these guys and these guys were against it, but everyone else was for it. So this is what the split looks like. It's 4 votes to 2 votes. Majority rules, and the yellow team would be forced to cede over some land, which looks something like this. And you'll notice that it's very close to their capital city, and this makes them audibly gulp. But hey, at least you have long-lasting peace with the green team. I'm sure they'd never ever break that non-aggression pact. Don't worry, they're just fascists, And honestly, I'm joking when I say that. Like, they definitely probably would, but they probably wouldn't, because if they did, that's how you get the coalition against you. So the green team, once again, is on the chill pill right now because they don't want to get messed up by the world. But who knows? Maybe if that coalition did happen, they'd get some unlikely allies. Anyway, that is going to do it for today's episode. I do want to say that there's a probability that this episode is a little bit shorter than some of the other... There's a probability that this episode is a little bit shorter than some of the other ones, and that's because I spent a long time doing the ideology map. So I've been recording for 48 minutes, but I don't know how long the video is because I took a lot of time doing the ideology map while I was recording. I should have just hit pause. I don't know why I didn't. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated, and I'll see you all in the next video. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes Serminator, Augusto, King Cheese, a Norwegian, RS, Dale Martinez, Australian Geo Guy, America and Canada and UK, Zaylance, Lazo Does Nothing, Breezioid, Laser Taze, Nevada Garbage Trucks, Pablo Sigma Cat, Death Strider X, Hammer Toad 45, CTG on YT, and DW Cool Dude. Once again, thank you guys.